Welcome to the Sales Engine Workshop. Today we're going to go through our sales engine diagnostic and explore the 7 foundations of the revenue equation. So let's kick things off and start by talking about value. Value is super critical to anyone that really wants to increase their sales performance. I want you to think about value as that acorn that everything that you do as a salesperson comes from. Said another way, if I walked into your organization and said, "What's the value that your company creates?" What type of answer am I going to get? First of all, is it going to be uniform? The second, are people even going to know what to say? I like to think about a really basic example here. Let's imagine we have a restaurant, and our restaurant makes really great hamburgers. And I talk to you as the founder, and I say, "What type of value do you create?" And you go, "We create the best bacon hamburgers in the world." I said, "Really? Tell me about it." And you're like, "Walk into my restaurant, you smell the bacon, and if you look around at anybody eating, they've got huge smiles on their face, but we know how to take all types of bacon and all types of hamburgers and all types of ingredients and mush them all together to make the best bacon cheeseburgers in the world." Okay, I'm really clear about your value. It's about bacon and hamburgers together, living in harmony, right? But if I asked one of your waitresses and I said, "Hey, what type of value do you create?" And she said, "Well, we make really great hamburgers. You know, we're kind of a diner that makes great hamburgers." That falls flat for me. To me, that person isn't clear on the value that you actually know how to take hamburgers and bacon and cheese and put it all together and make the most amazing bacon cheeseburgers in the world. So value is essential if you start thinking about the marketing function, how you train your staff, how you talk about your brand, and how you engage the audience too. So in our assessment, take these defined value questions and look at the answer. And if you're scoring an 8 or a 9 or a 10, you're probably doing great. But if you're scoring below that, highly recommend grab your team, get them together, talk through this, maybe a whiteboard, just a piece of paper. What is the value that we really create? And write those words down. Get excited about it and then start making sure that's how all of you talk. If you're scratching your head and you're kind of like, value, I don't know how to really clarify that, then it probably does make sense to have somebody like us come in and talk with you, or bring in another consultant, some outside eyes, be able to distill your value into maybe 30 words or 100 words, and then just practice it and evolve it over time. So let's go ahead and move on to target audience. I like to think about target audience as who buys your offerings. Quick example. Imagine you're on an airplane and you're sitting in the first class cabin, and your next best customer or client comes and sits down right next to you. Who are they? What company do they work for? What's their job title? Why are they going to be your next best customer? And that's the exercise I like to use for target audience, because it puts us in the mindset of really trying to understand who is our best target audience, who is going to buy our offering. The reason this is important is we only have so much money to spend on marketing and sales. Imagine you could go to whatever trade show you wanted to go to and run a booth and network and really build your business. Do you know what trade show you would go to? We have one client who doesn't want to go to trade shows anymore because they say only the president and the leadership of the company goes to these trade shows, and they need to talk to the people on the floor, the guys actually doing the work. And those are the guys that don't come to this trade show. So in their mind, they're really clear on the audience because they know it's the guys doing the work. It's not the executives. So in this exercise, as you look at your score, if you're a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you're probably doing great. Spend a little bit more time, think through it. But if you're less than that, I highly recommend get your team together, look at your current customer set, and just kind of start finding out what they have in common. Are they typically male? Are they typically female? Are they regional, national? What's their job title? Where do they work? And start kind of creating what we call a persona, or just like a summary of what your target audience is. And I guarantee if you do this, you're going to start to learn how to talk to these people better, because you're going to understand what's important to them and you're going to sell more effectively, and so is your team. And that's our goal, right? So let's move on to messaging. Messaging is those key words and phrases that you use to describe what I would say is your value that we just talked about, and even your offering. So the quick test I like to give here, and certainly you can take the diagnostic and read all those questions, but the quick test is this. Imagine you have a Google search bar just in your brain, and you can start to look at all your messaging on your website, your proposals. Maybe if you run ads or even on the radio, you listen to them, and your magic Google search bar starts to tell you what words and phrases you're using. And what I want you to think about is, are the words and phrases you use to describe your value in your target audience, in your offering, and what's important to your target audience showing up. When I do this exercise, I imagine these words getting highlighted on a website or on a blog post or in a proposal. But what you're looking for, right? You're looking for this connection of these words that represent your value with the needs and wants of the target audience. And if all these words are showing up, you're going to score an 8 or 9 or a 10 on the diagnostic, and congratulations, you're killing it. You're doing great. But if you're less than that, I've got to tell you, you're creating friction points. Imagine these stop signs coming up to the person trying to learn about you saying, stop, you don't need to read anymore, because it's not relevant to them. It's not aligned. So messaging is critical. And oftentimes what I've found, even with our own messaging, is I need outside eyes. I'm too close to it. If you're the main sales guy or if this is your business, you might be so close to it that you're using jargon or words that don't make sense to anyone other than the people within your company. So my recommendation is take a minute, grab some friends, bring in a consultant, bring a partner in, somebody that can be outside, and just talk through it with them. Put some keywords on a whiteboard, but this is so critical. You need the words that describe your value and the words that describe your offering and the words that represent the needs and wants of your target audience to show up in everything that you either write or say. And that can even be in a picture as well as words. So messaging is critical. It's the magic that ties everything together and brings people into your sales funnel. And when people are in your sales funnel, guess what? That's when you can create more revenue and generate more sales. So let's go ahead and move on to marketing alignment. What is that? Really, to me, it's how people are learning about you, and when they learn about you, is it connecting with them? To explain this, let's use another example. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're a realtor, and then you have a couple kids in elementary school. And if I were to ask you your value, back to exercise number 1, you said, yeah, my value is I find amazing houses for families that are growing. Great. You're clear on your value. And also in that statement, you're clear on your target audience. So now let's talk about how you're going to market yourself. Well, I would say if I was a realtor and I specialized in homes for young families and kind of those types of communities, I'd want to think about where those people interact. Facebook, some sort of hyper-local campaign around your zip code or your city, right? I'd want to think about maybe sponsoring a Little League team because the families that go to that are the families I'm going to be selling to. Or maybe there's a local pizza shop or bagel shop where you can advertise on their menus or something like that. But the idea is you're going to be involved in your community and you're going to be focusing on people like you, people that have a young family that's growing, because you're going to know where the schools are. You're going to know how to connect with these people. So in that example that I just gave, we certainly talked about places where people are learning about you, which is kind of the first part of marketing alignment. But the second is when they learn about you, do they feel connected? Some of this is messaging alignment, right? And that's what we just talked about in the prior section. But some of it's marketing alignment. If we went to your website, if we saw your social feeds, am I going to see pictures of you and your family? Am I going to see pictures of you being involved in the community? Am I going to see pictures and words that describe how you specialize and how you know all the communities around you and the best schools and things like that? That's what I'm going to want to see if you're trying to connect with me from a target audience point of view. So as you take your sales engine diagnostic, if you scored high on marketing alignment, then you probably have this nailed. But if you didn't, you actually might have some very simple changes you could make just by updating the words to connect. Or if you were this realtor and I went to your website and it was just pictures of Colorado mountains and things like that, or wherever you might live, maybe you can switch those out to start putting more human pictures, pictures of schools, pictures of local communities, maybe even just pictures of you and your family involved in the community so that the audience starts to connect with you and realizes you're a lot like they are and that you'd be a resource for them. So marketing alignment is something you can play around with really easily, especially if you do things digitally. But I think you get the concept, right? It's about understanding who you are, who you're going to connect with, back to value and audience, and where people find you, and making sure that when they find you, it's connecting. Marketing alignment, super important because marketing brings people into the top of the funnel, right? They bring people into your sales funnel. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to generate more leads, more opportunities with marketing. Let's go ahead and talk about one of my favorite things of any sales system, the sales team. Look, I'm a firm believer that salespeople are the lifeblood of an organization. And I'm also a firm believer that some salespeople really are born. But I'd also tell you some salespeople are really made. And the take-home message here is there's no college. No one went to school to become a salesperson, right? But if you want to be a great salesperson, if you want to have a great sales team, it's about intentionality. It's about taking the extra time, the extra moments, and getting better at your craft. So how do we do that? Well, the first is, how did you score on the sales engine diagnostic? Because really it's all about how effective is your sales team. And if you didn't score so high, it doesn't necessarily mean that the sales team you have in place isn't strong. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you're an individual salesperson, that you're not good at what you do. What it could simply mean is you're not clear on your value. You're not clear on your target audience. You're not clear on your message. Marketing's not working very well. So that you're kind of already set up with all these challenges. So what we want to do is flip that around. If you didn't score very well here, fix these first 4 things we just talked about, then start to focus on your sales team. And that's the type of thing that if you get really intentional and you start to invest the time either in yourself as an individual salesperson or into the team if you're a sales leader, that you will see incremental lift. You'll be able to start to measure that. And if you create the space and the intentionality, you're going to see your team get better and better over time. And sometimes breakthrough sales comes from a lot of little things getting 5 or 10% better. And sales team is certainly one of those things. Next up, revenue process. I actually like to call it sales process too, so we'll use them interchangeably. Sales process is awesome. I love it. And if you look at the diagnostic, you're going to see there are a bunch of questions there. It's really to get down to the heart, to the meat of what's going on in your organization around sales process. But let's take a quick step back. What is it? What's a sales process? Well, I like to imagine a sales funnel. Let's just pretend it's that traditional funnel, top to bottom, leads go on the top, they close at the bottom and you make money, okay? Sales system. So what I like to imagine is there's kind of bands or steps within the sales system in that funnel. So you're going to bring someone into the top. They're just kind of curious about your brand. What are the steps you're going to take to move them to the next stage of your funnel, to move them further down, and ultimately to a customer? And if you know these steps, then you can start to put in technologies like a Salesforce or a HubSpot, some sort of CRM that allows you to start to document these things and start to track them. And now they become data. And with data, you can see, hey, how come I'm getting all these leads at the top, but very few are going to the next stage? How come I'm not getting many sales? You can start to use that data and kind of reverse program. Ask yourself, wow, people are getting stuck right here. Maybe I don't have the right message. Maybe I don't have the right collateral. But by getting clear on the actual sales process, the journey you want to take someone on from the top of the funnel to the bottom, then you can start to get more intentional, make pivots, train your team, even just train yourself. I wonder why something's getting stuck here. I'm going to do something different next time. And by understanding the sales process this way, your revenue process this way, then you can start to get more and more effective. So look at your results. If you're scoring high, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you're scoring low, it's probably something you can fix pretty quickly by just spending a little bit extra time and imagining the different journeys you want people to go on and how you would talk to them to move them to close. Okay, so we've now just explored 6 of the 7 foundations. And if you believe like I do that these 6 foundations will improve you as a salesperson or your sales organization, then listen to the next one. The last foundation is performance management. And this is how we tie everything together. I'd like you to think about performance management as if you're the head coach of a professional football team. What are you going to do before the big game? You're going to learn about the other team. You're going to look at the health of your players. You're going to come up with a plan, but you're going to go into that game ready to win, ready to execute a plan. Then what's going to happen on game day? You're going to have to adjust that plan, and you're going to have some kind of pre-scheduled times to talk through this and evaluate what's working and what's not. That could be seen as halftime. Then after the game, if you've won, awesome, great. If you've lost, bummer. But either way, if you're the head coach, what are you going to do? You're going to look at what you did right and what you did wrong and try to get your team, both as individuals and as a team, to improve. And then you're going to repeat this again for the next game. Performance management is the exact same thing. You're the head coach of you as your own individual salesperson, and it's your responsibility to figure out how you're going to get better. And if you can look at these 7 foundations as an individual and figure out how you can get better, you're going to win more. And if you're the head coach of the actual sales organization, you're the sales manager, VP of sales, president of the company, whatever it might be, you have the exact same job. Find the time, create the space, put the technologies in place so that you can be optimized and be your best and run the best sales organization as you can. So that's really it. That's our workshop. I really wanted to give you a high-level overview of how we think and how these 7 foundations, when you put them all together, you put them in order, will create breakthrough performance. So my advice to you as a next step, if you haven't taken the Sales Engine Diagnostic, do it. If you already have, take 5 or 10 minutes, review it, and create some action items for yourself. And here's another one. If you're a member of a team and there's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other people that could take the diagnostic, have them take it too. Look at all your results, find a time to meet and go through them. See where you're aligned, see where you're apart, and then start taking some intentional steps to improve these things and get better. If you do that, I promise you, your organization will improve. Your sales systems will improve, and you'll generate more revenue. Finally, my offer to you is if you have a question, drop us an email. If you want to just talk through something, reach out. We'll schedule some time. We'll give you 30 minutes and we'll talk through it. And if you find yourself in a place where it's really complex and you want someone to help co-create or co-solve this, we'd be happy to talk through that too. In closing, just thank you. Thanks for spending some time with us today. I hope you feel inspired. I hope you feel like you have some tools to move things forward for your organization. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great one.